Mark Zuckerberg posting the dramatic move that they believe that the risks of allowing the president to continue to use the service are too great, and they will be blocking the president on Facebook and Instagram indefinitely, and at least for the next 2 weeks until the peaceful transition of power is complete. Now, Carl, as you mentioned, this is a dramatic move for Facebook because Mark Zuckerberg has stated repeatedly that he believes that Facebook is a very necessary platform for free speech. He has always really sided with the side of free speech rather than more regulation. He has called for regulation to help create guidelines to understand how to limit speech on the platform. But this is really a dramatic move, saying they believe it is simply too dangerous to allow the president to use the platform. And just to be clear, Carl, this is an extension of a 24-hour block that Facebook had put on the president that began last night. And they're now saying that this will be extended indefinitely.
To that point, Julia, I just wonder how much of this, given the fact that we have been having these conversations, I mean, I think about the tech sell-off we saw yesterday, in part because of expectations that we're going to see tighter regulations, maybe a revisit, a sharper, stronger revisit of Section 230 with this new administration. I mean, is this Zuckerberg and Facebook looking to get ahead of what might be inevitably that?
You know, I don't know if it's as much that, Morgan, and more the fact that there's been a lot of criticism of these platforms for enabling the organization of some of the rioting that we saw yesterday, and the question of whether or not Facebook is just simply not quick enough to take things down, and whether or not, even if something is up for even 30 seconds, it can be shared and liked many times in that period. So I think there's this question, you know, not just what they've faced from Capitol Hill, this question whether Facebook is biased in how it regulates content on the platform, but whether it can be used as a tool for bad, and whether they need to be much more stringent in preventing that from happening. And simply right now, they think the risk is too great for the next 2 weeks. It's a very, very bold move by Mark Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg.
To that point, Julia, and referencing something Tom Friedman said earlier on Squawk Box, I mean, there was a period before the election where Facebook was elevating more credible news content into people's news feed, and then they apparently stopped doing that. You know, do we have any sense that they're going to revisit that policy and perhaps make it permanent as well?
Well, look, they have been trying to elevate reputable news, particularly about coronavirus. They've been elevating, correct news from reputable sources around the election. If you go to Instagram right now, they say, here is the election news you need to know. Here's what's happening right now on Capitol Hill. But I think what has shifted is, for many years, Zuckerberg said that they believed that people needed to know what the president was saying. They needed to know if he was saying things that were incendiary. And now they're saying these things are incendiary. We don't want people to be incited to violence because of that. I want to just read you one quote here from Mark Zuckerberg's comments. He said, over the last several years, we have allowed President Trump to use our platform consistent with our rules, at times removing content or labeling his posts when they violate our policies. We did this because we believe that the public has a right to the broadest possible access to political speech, even controversial speech. But the current context is now fundamentally different, involving use of our platform to incite violent insurrection against a democratically elected government. That paragraph sums up the shift that Facebook has made between allowing this as free speech and now saying it certainly incites violence.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.